So welcome back to Angular 20 tutorial. This is the part 18th of this. Now almost all basic topics are completed from directives, control flow statement, API integration, routing, resource API. So almost every topics are completed. In the previous video, we have seen the login API, but with the hard code. Normally that was just for the basic understanding. But when we say about login, it is mostly with the API integration. So from the API side, we validate the user credential is valid or not. So that we are going to see. And again, the form we are going to use reactive form, so that again that also we will revise. APIs which we are going to use will be from freeapi.miniprojectideas.com. So here you can see this is the idea. This is the API, and on that at the bottom you have user. So here we have the API and that we are going to use. So and to use this API, make sure you run the project on 4208 port, ng serve and 4208. So what I have done, I have created a new project by this command ng new then project name. Then I have installed the bootstrap, and after installing the bootstrap, I have added the links also. So you can see this is an empty project with Angular 20 version, and bootstrap I have added. After that bootstrap entry, I have added it over here. Fine. So this is just a basic thing I have done. Now, this is an empty project. Let's consider we are going to implement an admin application. So when we talk about admin application, by default, we have login page. And once user provide the credential, and if credentials are correct, then user login into the application, then we get to see navbar and everything. So that structure we are going to follow. So let's create the component. In app folder, we will create component or pages folder. And on the pages folder, we have to open a new terminal. Now, when we talk about admin application, once user is not logged in, app component will be your parent component and login component will render over there. But after login, we need another component which will act as a parent component. So home component or the layout component, we will say. So ng generate component. First component I'm creating as login. Then after that, we will need one more component which will act as a parent component after the login. There we will have navbar and everything. So we will have layout component. After layout component will act as a parent component, but after login, we need to navigate to some other component. So we will call it as a dashboard component. So after login, user will navigate to the dashboard component. So three components we have created. Now, once we created the component, next thing will be we have to create the routes. So let's create the routes. So by default, we get this app route.file, right? Now here we have to create the routes. Route is nothing but an array of objects. So object contains path and everything. Just a minute. It is still not recognized the file. Path. It will be empty. By default, I need a default route. So path I will keep it as empty. Redirect to where if in the URL we don't have anything. So I will redirect to login route. For default route, we need path match strategy also with the value full. So this is my default route. After that, our login route. So path will be login component. We will open as login component. Fine. So again, like from Angular 20, our component file name and everything got changed. See, we don't have that component word in the file naming convention. So that got removed. Then we need another empty path, but component will be layout component. This will act as a parent component after the login. And all the component which we are going to access after the login will be children of this layout component. So over here, path, dashboard. Currently, we just have created one component and component. So whatever the component which you are going to access after the login will be created over here as a children. Means saying layout is my parent component and this component I'm loading this children. So this should be your routing structure for admin kind of application, not the website. Fine. Now our routing is done. Then we need the login page or wait. In app component, we get this basic UI. So let's remove that. We just need router outlet. Not, we don't need anything else. So my application is already running. So now you can see by default, I'm navigating to login page. See, even if I don't pass anything in the URL, still it is navigating to login because we have implemented our default route because of this. Fine. Now, so we need the login UI. So now I'm going to use the chat GPT to create the basic login page. Let's go to chat GPT. So here, what we need a login page. So what I will say, login page design with HTML, CSS. Use Bootstrap to design it. Let's say we need some animation, add some animation also, right? And we need just a pure HTML code. Just provide pure HTML code. Fine. So it will help us to design the normal UI page. Again, we can ask for a, let's say, we need some image also. So we can ask that also. Let it complete, then we will ask again. Add some login image to make UI design more interactive. Whatever you need to specify clearly, then it will do like that. Again, if you are really a fresher now, don't use ChatGPT to design the UI page also. I'm just using this to save the time. But if you are in the learning phase, make sure you are not using AI for everything. Otherwise, you will be in a serious trouble because you don't have the habit of writing the code, right? Now, let's copy this CSS first. So this CSS will go into our login.css. So over here, okay. Then we need the HTML. So this is the HTML. We don't have to copy from body, just the content we need. And this will go to my login. Let's save and check if login page is coming or not. It is coming, but somehow it is not as per the UI. What we missed? We just didn't copy this body page. Let's see if it is because of the body or not. Let's add that in our global.css. Still law, okay. Something is wrong. What's 5.3.3? Let me just recompile because angular.json I have added just now. So I think bootstrap is not available. Let me just recompile. So ngs hyphen port 4208. So on this specific port I need to run. Whenever you make changes to the angular.json, you need make sure you compile again. Let's see now. Yeah, now it is coming proper, but image is not coming. So where we are using the image, this is the image, right? Let's see if this image is loading or not. This image itself is not loading. Let's ask it. This image is not present. We'll provide alternate image then. Let's see this. It is suggesting some URLs. Let's try this. This is also not there. Okay, let's not go with the image. Let's use the first. Without the image, we got the first image now. Let's use this only. Copy in login.html. Let's save. Yeah, we got it, but we got very basic one. Let me just get the CSS of the old one only. Let's try this. Login.css. Let's save. Okay, now we got the proper. And in style, we don't need this, so let's remove it. Okay, it is going center. So instead of having this over here, let's put it body over here. And instead of body, we will say parent. Okay, and this class we will add it at the top. So again, we need to, because in our component we don't have a body, right? So I will use this class as a parent div, and whole our HTML I will move it inside this. Fine. Yeah, so now our login page is coming. Fine. Now here we have the API. So let's say you are going to do the API integration, but first we need to create the user. So I will be using the Swagger to create the user. So this is the API. So let's try it out. Okay, let's say test 44, just a user I'm creating. Let's say 0011001100, just a mobile number, email ID test44@gmail.com. By this email ID you are going to log in. Okay, password let's say 223344. Now on click of execute, it will create the user. So saved successfully, right? So we have created a user. Let's try to log in also. This is our email ID. At the top, you have the login API. Try it out. This is the email ID 223344. Let's execute. See, login success, and in the response, we are getting token. So means whatever the credential, if you pass the wrong password, execute. See, username and password is invalid. Okay. So our API is working. Now this API we need to integrate. Okay. Now in your Angular project, whenever you have to do the API call integration, first thing you have to do is in app config, you need to register our provide HTTP client. So in providers array, provide HTTP client. This is the first thing you have to do, and only one time whenever you have to make the API call. Let's close this. Then in your login.component.ts. Now, as we said, we are going to do the reactive form. So for login, this is the form, this is the object we need to pass. So let's create the reactive form. So what I will do, login form colon form group. Let's import our reactive form. Why it's not suggesting? Let's add the import for the first time, Angular slash forms, and then it should import reactive forms module, and this we need to import over here. Then we need the form group also. So form group is equal to new form group. This is how we create the reactive form. So this is what we have created, a reactive form. Now inside that we have to create the control. So control is nothing but the field you have. So email ID colon new form control, right? We have to initialize with empty value. Then second control name will be our password. So whatever the field name you have, only copy paste that. Don't assume, right? Form control, because same object we need to pass. So we have created our reactive form. What we did, we imported reactive form module and we created a reactive form. Now in HTML, we need to bind that reactive form. So on HTML, we have this form tag. So on this form tag, we need to bind reactive form inside the form group name property binding is equal to the form name, that is login form. You will bind it over here. And on the element, you have to use form controller name equal to this. Your control name, that is email ID, it will go over here. Then again for the password, form controller name is equal to this and the password field. Fine. So we created reactive form and that we have binded over here. Then on click of login, click on login, we are going to make the API call. So instead of submit, I'm going with button. You can keep it as a button also, submit also, but then here ng on submit, ng submit you have to use. Both way you can use. Let's create this function. Fine. Now from the component, we are going to make the API call. So you can do the API call into service also, but again, either you create the API call over here or the service one and the same thing, because the topic is login, right? So now here, this dot, we need to do the API call integration. So for that, we need to inject our HTTP client service. So HTTP is equal to inject, the main new way we are going to use. What we need to inject? HTTP client service. Fine. Then here, this dot HTTP, our API is post method. We need the URL and the object. Now from where you are going to get the object? We need to pass the object, but we have form over here. So here we can extract the object from it. Form value. This dot login form dot value. Here you will get the object, proper object. Fine. And this object you will pass as a second parameter. We need the URL. So from Swagger, let's get the URL. So this is going to be my login URL. This will go over here and see the method is post. Okay, that's why we are using post method over here. Now dot subscribe, round bracket, curly bracket, next colon. This is the new way how we write the API call into means subscribe. Then we have error. Fine. The earlier way, like how we subscribe and then error block, that got deprecated. So this is the new way. Fine. Now here result and here error. So here, if you can see over here, the response is this model, and result property is result. By using the result property, you will get to know like API call is success or not. So that you need to match out. So if result dot, or instead of result now let's make it response. If response, in response we are going to get the object, inside that result property is there. If result property is true, now here it is saying because we didn't provide the data type, so we can provide a data type to this result colon any. You can create interface of interface also. Why it is giving error? Response colon any. Okay, like that. So if result is true, we can say login success, or else in the API only, we from the API response only we get the error also. So error we get it in the message property. So in alert response dot message. Okay, and if the API is not reachable or something, so this error block will execute. So in error alert error dot error we will show. Fine. Let's add a debugger. Since we are checking the code for the first time, make sure you add a debugger and check properly. Again, either you do this or on the browser level you add it. Here also and here also. This is the success block and this is the error block. Let's check it now. Let's inspect. Let me dock this. Okay. Just I'm passing the wrong credential now. On click of login, our function got triggered. So see login form.value. You got the object, right? So you are from your reactive form, you are able to get the object. Now we got the object. Now this object we are going to pass along with the API. Next. See, it came into error. So error is like, wait, status, why it is saying like this? Inside error, unknown response, status tag we can check. Instead of error, we will use status text. So if we are passing the wrong credential, it is going to our error block. Let's try it one more time. Again, wrong credential only we are passing. Fine, unknown error we got, but it is like by wrong credential. Now let's pass our correct credential. So correct credentials are test44@gmail.com and password was 22334455. Let's pass the again wrong credential. Continue. Still it is going to the error. Now let's pass the correct credential 223344. So see, now we got the correct credential. Continue. Why it is going to the error block? Let me check the console if we have course error. Okay, we have course error. 4208 is not allowed. Let me quickly check which port is allowed. Everything is correct, just I need to run the project on different port. Sorry, my bad. The project we have to run on 4209 port. So let me stop it. NGS hyphen hyphen port 4209. This is the port which we have to run. Let's run it. Let's change over here also. Login. Okay, so make sure you run the project on 4209 port. Now let's pass the correct credential. So correct credential was this, and then 223344 login. So see, now we got success over here. So in the response, you can see result is property is true. So result is property true. So we are showing the alert. So login is success. But once user is successfully logged in from the API credential are authenticated, we have to navigate him inside the application also, right? So for doing that, we have to navigate him inside the application. So from .ts, we have to navigate. So to do that, we have to create instance of our router. What we need to inject our router service. Okay. Now here, this dot router dot navigate by your navigate you can use or navigate by URL. Where you have to navigate? In the dashboard. So if you check the routes which we have created, dashboard, we will navigate like this. But in the layout component, we need the navbar also. So let's go to our Bootstrap, and let's get our navbar. So in Bootstrap navbar, let's get this one because we are going to need the log off button, right? So let's use this one. So this is my navbar, edit as HTML, copy and paste. Now in my layout component, I have the navbar, right? So that navbar, again, like after login component, this is going to be our parent component. But to load the activated route, we need router outlet over here also. So router outlet we need to import, and router link also. Currently we don't have so many links, but let's add it. Now after the navbar, you have router outlet. So now in your application, you have two times now router outlet. One is the in the parent component, one is the layout component. Fine. Let's save all and let's check if we are able to see navbar and everything. Let's try again. Let's try wrong password again. Login. See, in case of wrong credential, you get this property as false and you go to the else block, and else block we are showing the message. Okay. Let's try the correct password. 223344. Login. Success. See, we are able to navigate to the dashboard. Now here, instead of search, you can have that log off button and you can log off. Let me quickly do that also. Sorry, we don't need this text box. Click on log off. Now, again, we need the router service. So router inject, what we need to inject? Router service. Then again, we need to navigate him back to the login page. So this dot router by, previously we have used on login, we have used the navigate by URL. Just like that, we can make use of navigate method also. But navigate methods expect an array. Where you have to navigate? Login. Let's save and check. Okay. Now the title we didn't change. It should be log off. Let's save. Now if I click on log off, see, we are again back to the login page, right? So this is what we have to do whenever we have to do the API call integration. Again, once we do the login, we didn't store the logged in data and everything, but that again we can do. One more, two or three more videos will be coming just focused on the login. In next video, I'll be explaining how do we do the JWT login. We get the token, interceptor, and all those things I will be explaining. Again, same project I will explain. But this was a very basic, like how do we do the login API integration, right? How do we do the navigation? By default login page, how do we show? And after the login, how do we get to see the whole application with navbar and everything? Fine. So that's it. Again, if you are new, please do like and subscribe. In the video description, you can find the WhatsApp link where you can join my WhatsApp group and you can directly connect with me also. Thank you. That's it.